welcome to The Pitch with Fox, Beatomes, and Mitch. I'm your host, John Fox, alongside here with Beatomes and Mitch Sabatelli. Top stories of the week. Dallas Clark is out for the season, and Austin Collie could miss several weeks. First of all, how does this affect the Colts' chance at getting to a Super Bowl?
Well, I think this actually affects them a lot. You know, Dallas Clark might be maybe the second most important player on that team, actually, behind Peyton Manning. You look at Jeff Saturday, who's been there for the last 10 years or whatever, but the center's not that important. I look at Dallas Clark, I mean, defense it's easy to cover Reggie Wayne, you know, I mean, it's not easy, but it's easier, you know, you can scheme against him. You look at a Dallas Clark, he's very fast, he's pretty big, he's a good blocker, but he looks like a wide receiver out there, and he's been there for a while. They have great chemistry. Losing Dallas Clark's huge, and Austin Collie, I mean, he was projected to be one of the top receivers in this year, you know?
Yeah.
So losing Austin Collie is going to be huge too, you know? I mean, that's going to be tough. Some people are going to have to step up.
I think this hurts Peyton Manning more than it hurts the Colts themselves, because Dallas Clark might be back by the playoffs, and you know the Colts are going to make it there pretty much no matter what.
They're saying he could be out for season, so...
But they're not putting him on into reserve, hoping he can be back for the playoffs.
Wait, you just said the Colts, you think they're going to make it there no matter what?
I think they're going to make the playoffs, but...
Dallas Clark was put on the IR. He's out for the season.
They put him on the IR
Yes,
today?
he's out for the season.
Oh, okay. Well...
They got a tough division too,
Yeah.
Houston.
But, I mean, I still think they're going to make the playoffs, but without him, they're not going to make the Super Bowl. But this hurts Peyton Manning the most, you know, for fantasy players out there or whatever who have him, because Dallas Clark's like his main target after Reggie Wayne, and if you don't have a good tight end, then you're kind of in trouble.
I got another comment there. You know, Austin Collie has been their slot receiver, a great slot receiver for this year and actually last year, but, you know, he took over for Anthony Gonzalez. And now Anthony Gonzalez is coming back after the bye week. I think Peyton Manning's going to find pretty good chemistry with him. But, you know, you look at Reggie Wayne. Reggie Wayne's going to suffer a lot. Losing Collie and Clark. I think people who were going to double team Dallas Clark are now going to shift some guys over and make sure shut down Wayne. They're going to have to rely on Adai more once he's healthy, Donald Brown. And Peyton Manning's going to have one of the toughest years of his career.
Oh, definitely. And Adai's hurt now, too.
I know.
I mean... They're lucky that they're on a bye this week.
And that defense really isn't that good. So,
no.
I mean, they've really been relying on that offense this whole year. And, you know, I want that defense to step up from an Indies fan.
But, I mean, at the same time, they have Peyton Manning.
That's
true. So you know they're going to win games.
Yeah, but Mitch, you were talking about that some players need to step up. In your opinion, who's the player that needs to step up the most for the Colts?
I think the obvious two people that need to step up. There's not too much thing to say. I mean, you got to look at Pierre Garçon. You know, he came back last week, had a really good game, 100 yards. You look at him coming back, that would be huge if he can develop into as good as he was last year, maybe even better. And also, like I said, Anthony Gonzalez, he reminds me of like a Austin Collie, Brandon Stokely type player who can play in the slot. I think you're going to have to rely on him. And also that running game needs to step up.
I think Adai is the one player that really needs to step up because he hasn't been used all that much this year.
Yep.
And, I mean, without an amazing pass offense like they've had, they need him to run or else they're in trouble. They're not going to be able to move the ball at all. And
there's one good thing about the running game. They also have, like I said, Donald Brown and Mike Hart, two young guys who can step in. Maybe you give them a little bit more carries. Maybe they can step up. Who knows? What else are we going to say?
Now, another top story, Deshaun Jackson is out for the Philadelphia Eagles. How does that affect the Eagles losing Jackson? You want to take it?
I mean, he's probably one of... I mean, he could be considered... He could be considered the best wide receiver in the league. I know you like Roddy White a lot, but I'd personally take Deshaun Jackson over White.
I like Deshaun Jackson a lot.
I mean, his speed is just unmatchable.
He's awesome. You said him last game before he got the concussion. We'll talk about him a little bit later in the show. But, I mean, he had a great run. He had two touchdowns last game.
That's the thing. He can run the ball. He can, you know, he's an amazing receiver. He can go
Great
short. He can go deep. Yeah, I mean, he can even pass the ball if you really want him to. So, I mean, he can do it all. And losing him, on top of having Vic out, that's really tough.
Well, a couple of things. You know, we keep on talking about Kevin Kolb. It seems like we talk about the Eagles every show.
Yeah.
Kevin Kolb is, like we always talk about him, that's going to help hurt his development. You know, now he's going to have to rely on Macklin, who had a huge game last game. I think it was like 160 yards, 2 touchdowns. But mainly because Jackson, he got hurt halfway through, but he didn't put up a lot of those numbers in the first half. And some of those people are going to shift over him. Now he's going to have to play wide receiver slot 1 instead of slot 2. And I look at a guy like Avant to step up. McCoy needs to step up in the backfield. He's gonna have to be a good receiver too. Actually, McCoy. I look at a guy who's had a down year this year is Brent Selleck. I thought he was gonna break out again this year.
I know you haven't even heard his name.
I know at all. I mean, he's a great tight end last year. I think maybe that might have been McNabb because he had a lot of jump passes. I don't know.
Maybe. But you would think with Vick in there, it'd be the same kind of thing.
But actually, our producer just told us that Michael Vick has a chance of playing this week. So that would be huge if Michael Vick would play.
I'm still a Kevin Cobb fan. I mean, I think he can handle the job. Obviously, Vick's better than him, but Kevin Cobb, as we saw last week, can step up pretty well.
Yeah, I think he was the top-ranked quarterback last week.
But I think what really needs to happen for the Eagles is the defense needs to step up and prove that they can help them win a game because
I agree.
With their offense depleted, I mean, it's going to be all up to the defense to win it.
They have a great run-stopping defense, actually.
Yeah. And they're going to need to step up to win.
Yeah, they are.
All right, now on to the biggest top story of the week. NFL has put a new rule on the hits, and it's any contact above the shoulder or any hits to the head will result in a fine and a suspension for that player who does that. So, do you like this?
Oh, I love this rule. Actually, it was insane this week. You look at Merriweather did it twice. You got seen Harrison doing it.
Harrison, yeah.
I think it was in
Dr.
Cribs.
Robinson.
Merriweather actually had 3, but only 2 he got
close.
fined
Yeah.
for.
And also, you can't lunge at a player and miss him because that's showing that you're going for him. Anything over the shoulder, that's a problem. But I love this rule. This actually is going to help the marketing out. NFL does a great job in marketing. Deshaun Jackson, we mentioned earlier, he had a concussion last game. He's out. That's going to hurt Eagles marketing because he's one of their biggest players. If you're not got their top player, and usually people who do get hurt are their top players because good safeties are trying to knock out their best player. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Merriweather. Cheap players do that. I'm a Patriots fan. I thought that was a cheap move by Merriweather on Heap. I'm glad. I think.
Which one?
Huh?
He had a few hits.
Well, the big one that I was talking about. But I think if somebody does do that, I think they should be suspended at least, I'm going to say like around 4 games or something like that.
So you're glad that Merriweather is suspended?
I think.
Well, he's not suspended.
Well,
fines are dumb, I think. I mean, these players are getting paid millions of dollars.
Yeah,
You're going to fine somebody $50,000.
3 players, $175,000. That's a lot of money, even to these players.
That is.
I mean, that's a car.
I mean, you look at a guy like last season. It's also hurting people's playoff chances. If you lose Deshaun Jackson, that's going to hurt the Eagles. You look at last year in hockey, Matt Cook and Mark Savard. It knocked them out, and they had a whole. I mean, they were one of the best teams going in there, and Pittsburgh got nothing for that. They just kept on rolling. Meanwhile, Mark Savard, the Bruins' best player, gets screwed that game and throughout the season, and then has a problem in the playoffs. It just affects your whole team going down the stretch. I love the rule.
I mean, I don't have a huge problem with hits to the head necessarily, but I have a huge problem with hits to the head when the player can't see it coming.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I mean, if they're going head on and they go
oh
head
yeah,
to head,
that's football.
That's football. I mean, there's not much you can really do to stop that because both players.
You got a helmet for a reason. But if you're just physically if you're trying to break up a pass instead of swatting a ball and you just go for the head to break up the pass, I mean that's pretty serious. I mean that guy shouldn't be penalized.
I mean they found out in Jackass, the movie,
yeah,
that a hit like that is going to do some serious damage.
Yeah, I mean when you take a fine, I think it should bump it up to maybe $200,000 if there's something happening like that, and maybe like a possible 2-game suspension.
I think first offense 1 game, second offense 4 games, and then third offense the season.
I like that.
What I meant to ask you about Brendan Merriweather is, do you think he should have been suspended for that?
Yeah, I think we already touched upon that. I think he should have been suspended. What do you think?
Well, no, because there was no rule on that yet.
True, but
I mean, if anyone was going to be suspended, it should be Harrison.
Did you see Harrison's hit?
Yeah.
You saw it?
Yeah.
It wasn't that bad.
I didn't think that Harrison's
I didn't think it was that bad at all.
hits were initially bad.
I thought they were.
Cribs commented. He said he made a statement saying it wasn't as bad as people were thinking. I think Merriweather's was serious. You've seen Heap down there for a long time, and that could really screw up some of these.
Yeah.
Especially a big guy.
I don't think any of them should have been suspended just because there was no rule for that yet. But if that happened this week, I'd say both of them suspended.
Oh, obviously, yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
It's weird that all happened last week. was like a lot of problems.
Well, I mean, it's been going on all season, just not to this extent.
Yeah.
You know, there's usually one hit.
You saw those two players, Harrison and Merriweather, that was huge last week. But.
All right, moving on to ML.
One more thing. Do you think they should get more of a penalty if they hurt the player?
What do you mean, like physically hurt the player?
Yes.
I mean,
I think they should.
I guess
if,
so.
if it's a cheap hit and they really hurt the player, they should,
I mean,
they
if,
should
if,
be
if,
penalized
if it's a really good player and it's hurting the team's chances, I hate to make it the better player. I mean, it's.
Because, I mean, if you think about it, a one-game suspension is really not that much. You know, like you said, the fine's not all that much. And if it's like Patriots-Jets, and, you know, the Jets take out Wes Welker,
Yeah.
that's helping them.
Exactly. You look at Bernard Pollard, who took out Tom Brady for the whole season. The next year, he took out Welker. That affects the playoffs chances. That wasn't head-on collisions, but still, that was serious. I mean, there were some dirty players in the league. I mean, it's usually cheap. It's usually not very good players. It's usually people who are just in there. You look at a Sean Avery in hockey, who just he's not a very good player. Just people known for hitting.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It would be different if they're a really good player, but you know, it's tough.
All right, well, we've got much more on the way, but for now, we're just going to take a short break.